League One Volleyball is coming to Minnesota in 2027. The world's best players together on American soil. This is volleyball like you've never seen before. Huge swings, massive blocks, jaw-dropping digs. A sport where every play is a highlight. To learn more and get first access, visit lovbminnesota.com/iHeart.
Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.
Hey folks, welcome. It's the Unsung podcast. This is the first time you've ever done this episode. My name is Mark.
I'm Chris.
Joined by Chris and David.
So this is part two.
Part two of part
Try
two.
two.
Of part two.
Yeah, take two of part two.
Yeah. Professionals.
Now we can explain this, right? You are listening to the public portion of our Christmas special, okay? If you've ever listened to Unsung podcast at the festive period before, you will know that we come in and do a bunch of episodes in a row. We take questions from the public and we get pissed. Sometimes very, sometimes mildly.
Famously get pissed.
Take one of this.
Get famously pissed.
We'll attribute take one of this to just
Get
bad
pissed.
luck rather than the fact that Mark's had a few. It didn't work out. So we're going to try and recapture the glory of the first portion of take one. The first part of the Christmas special, we took questions from the public. We answered them. Very good they were too. If you want to hear those, they are only available to subscribers. So if you're hearing this and you didn't hear that, subscribe. If you want to hear the one next week, where we will definitely have had too much to drink by that point, then you should also subscribe. Mark, how do people subscribe?
Patreon.com/unsungpod is where you can go to sign up for our subscription service. It is £4 a month, or whatever your equivalent local currency is, and for that you get early access to episodes, bonus episodes, which Chris has just discussed.
Yep.
And we've had actually quite a few of those this year as well.
Yes.
You get to talk to us on our Facebook group, which, yes, you know, it's Facebook, blah, blah, blah. We've made this joke so many times, but it's shite. But, you know, if you're on Facebook, you can come and chat to us, and we are very receptive to that.
The one saving grace of Facebook is that some of the private groups are still half decent and a good way to connect. And so we've got a pretty entertaining little private gallery.
So that's pretty much what you get for that. And then we've got another tier, which is the Record Club, which we won't go into too much detail with, because some of the people that are in the Record Club might come up in this episode.
Okay. So we should say that some of the subscription episodes are also a little bit edgier on average.
Edgier.
You'll probably notice that by the time we get to part 3 of this. We have some thanks to pay. I believe we got a donation this week.
Thanks to Jordan. He actually sent us some money via PayPal. So we do have a PayPal, which you can find on our website, which is unsungpod.net. So if you want to send us just some flat cash, then please do.
Yeah, so effectively Jordan sent us 3 beers worth of money, which was very much appreciated, because these days beers are not cheap, and those beers are being imbibed as we speak.
Have been imbibed.
Being imbibed as we speak. Probably your fault, Jordan, that we didn't record take one then.
Yes.
But that is a very, very cool and helpful way to go about it. If you don't want to subscribe, we appreciate that. Other people that deserve a thanks are Sean and Gail from the Variety Bar, or No Mean Radio in Glasgow. This is the studio that we use, and it's been a superb facility for us to have access to.
It's so much better than your fucking living room.
Well,
no offence to your living room.
I still use that daily.
Yeah, but not as a podcast studio. I do like your living room, but coming in here and it's the setup's amazing. It's ridiculous.
The video stuff has been great, and it's been a fantastic facility. So we thank them. There's a lot of other shows that actually come out of this studio. We're not going to plug them for you, but No Mean Radio, if you're in Glasgow, if you're visiting Glasgow, drop in. It's apart from being a cool wee place, it's a pretty legendary bar for the city as well. So
yeah, I love Variety Bar.
Variety Bar on Sauchiehall Street.
Yeah. So
do you know what's interesting? I just want, nobody asked about this, so I'm just putting it out now. But I feel that independent community radio is like really burgeoning at the moment. There's a bunch in Glasgow. There's No Mean Radio. There's obviously Subcity, the Glasgow Uni one. There's Radio Bonavida. There's Clyde Built.
Yep.
And basically, like every city that you can find or every big town will have something like this going on. And I think it is just feedback from shitty algorithmic playlists and shitey mainstream radio. Whenever I go into a taxi and I hear like the radio, it's fucking awful, man.
It's pure brain damage.
And like, I know a lot of people just listen to that because that's background music and whatever, but people who actually like music,
it's audio screensaver,
are really, and like even Six Music now is pretty fucking trash. So like people are going out and finding DIY radio stations like this all over, and they're just great, and a lot of them speak to each other and do community stuff and do outreach things.
I think it also is a product of like option paralysis, because for a while the coolest thing in the world was that you could listen to any song at any, or almost any song at any moment, immediately. But then actually you get to a point where you're like, curation is actually really a nice thing to get recommendations.
I want an old person to tell me what's good.
That's what we're here for.
Or a young person to tell me what's cool.
That's not us.
All these are my two things.
I won't stand this box for very long, but all these platforms kind of know that as well, because they do have curated playlists, but it's not the same thing, obviously. It's not the same thing.
So like being able to hear a person articulate why they care about something or don't care about something is actually really quite engaging, and community radio is a really great way to tune into that. And also you can get involved. You've done stuff in Clyde Built, haven't you?
I've done stuff in Clyde Built, and I have a regular show on Bonavida.
You do, that's true.
Yeah, so you can actually, if you really like these stations, you can get in touch with them and you may end up doing something on them. Subcity, the uni, used to be a great one.
That's still going, still good.
I did that when I was in uni, in the Glasgow Uni, so yeah.
So I started in music doing Air 3 at student student radio.
Absolutely,
that's a great way to get involved.
You became notorious.
Notorious.
So I support your local community radio and support your local independent bar and support your local podcast.
Independent scene as well.
Yeah. But support us.
Mostly.
So we're going to do 3 kind of fairly rote questions that we answer every year, and these are going out publicly because they're the kind of questions that I think the public will benefit from, because it's like stuff we've heard, our opinions on albums. I'm sure you have many, many more. You're more than welcome to get in touch about them, to tell us about them. But we're just going to throw some names at you. So the 3 questions, Mark, what are they?
So on this episode of the Unsung podcast, we're going to talk about our 5 favourite albums of the year.
5?
5.
I didn't know it was 5.
I've got 5.
20.
How many numbers came out?
Fuck's sake.
But there can be some honourable mentions as well alongside that.
It's more that I don't have 5.
Well, we've got a bit of a dichotomy there. Our favourite Scottish acts of the year. That can be just the act or the record they've released.
Yes.
And of course, our favourite live shows of the year, which Chris and I had a very interesting discussion about earlier on, very briefly. So that's kind of the thing. So we do this every year as part of the kind of whole sort of melange of XMAS bullshit.
Well, it gets us off the hook for 3 weeks.
But it does, yeah. But this is the one that I think is probably has got the most utility and the most usefulness for everyone else.
Yeah, don't read all the shitey paid for magazine lists. Listen to
we've done it all. We've listened to everything, and then it's been filtered through our cynical brains.
Yeah, we specifically make no money. Ever.
Specifically.
So you can trust it.
Yeah, there's no hype here.
No hype. No one's sending us money.
And then subscribe and tune in next week when we'll really just fucking let the shackles off.
Yeah.
So I want to start off, I guess the first thing we'll probably do is the best albums of the year, right? So
general albums.
Best albums of the year.
That seems counterintuitive to me, but okay.
You don't want to do best albums of the year?
No, I had Scottish acts and albums of 2025 first. But I mean, whatever you're
the boss, Mark.
You're the boss.
That's
running the show.
That's the way to live.
Album of the year generally, right? Album of the year generally. Okay.
No, albums of the year. But I was going to say something about like my journey this year of listening to music.
Yeah, we'll see it.
So essentially, I made an effort to try and listen to a new record to me every single day for this year.
You did, which was bold.
That is mental.
Yeah. When I stopped working, it kind of stopped. It kind of became less of a thing. So October, November and December I've listened to much less music than I did.
Just listened to Sisters of Mercy every day and felt sorry for
I mean, I
myself.
did. That's true. That's not incorrect. So yeah, you're right, Dave. That is mental. But it's been fun, but also it's kind of forced me to listen to new stuff as opposed to actually new to me, but new releases.
It's commendable, man.
Yeah, no, it's impressive.
I don't know how many albums I listened to this year. Last FM says over 1,000, but that obviously counts one song in an album, so it's clearly not an accurate representation of the amount of albums I've actually listened to. So, but I have piled my way through quite a lot and put stuff I've really, really enjoyed throughout the course of the year into its own playlist. And yeah, the ones that I'm going to call out are the ones that have really stuck with me, that I've like had proper longevity, that I've kept going back to, because there's a lot of stuff I've listened to this year which I've just not, Can I just ask about your methodology? Like, how did you decide what you were going to listen to? Were you looking at what was getting reviewed, or were you just randomly taking part of that, but also there's a website. I started off at the start of the year going to a website called Shuffled.
Okay. What's that?
Which is shuffled without the word shuffled without the vowels.
Okay.
And essentially you go on the website and it just recommends an album to you. Mm-hmm. You can pick a genre and hit it and it'll just recommend an album to you.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I was doing. The genre I fancied, I'd hit that and I'd listen to stuff. But I'd also be like keeping an eye out for reviews of new stuff or picking up singles. I really like Brooklyn Vegans, like punk hardcore emo lists. When there's a new single comes out, they'll put it on the playlist and I'll check that out.
So your selection will be somewhat biased towards those genres, though.
I mean, have you met me?
Yeah, I'm just checking, because it is that thing when it gets to the end of your lists and I look at them and I'm like, damn, I wish I had the sort of like the application to just go through and listen to all of these disparate fucking
That's why
records.
February's a really good time to ask me what the best albums were from the previous year.
Mm-hmm. Because you've got that in your list thing.
Like only yesterday I found a really good list of the best noise rock albums of 2025.
I will.
And that'll take me a couple of weeks to go through them. And then,
part of the issue with it is like I've listened to very little hip hop this year because the stuff I've been consuming hasn't really been geared towards that. Mm-hmm. And I know, like you said there, Dave, there's definitely some records that I would listen to that I'd probably really enjoy. One of which is actually a Scottish record, which I did listen to because you recommended, Chris, and it's fucking amazing, by the way. Good. Tremendous record.
Wish I could remember what it was.
And it is a Scottish album of the year. I was blown away by it.
Good.
But it's not on my list of best albums.
All right, well, I've got it on mine anyway, so that's fine.
But it came in so late because when you sent it, it was like I kind of made up my mind. I need to spend more time with it. So that's one example.
They're playing in 4 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we starting off with like the also rans, or are we starting off with like our top choices?
Well, I didn't know there was only 5.
No, forget that.
Right, okay.
I've only got 5. I've got to have my also rans on my
2.
playlist, but
I've got 17.
I've got 2, and then I've relied on Grant Donaldson for a while.
All right, okay. Well, go for your 2, Chris.
So both of mine came in quite late. I have to say, nothing was really grabbing me early on in the year.
You said that last year as well.
Yeah, I really like Touch, the new album by Tortoise. So Tortoise are a band.
Yeah, I've not listened to that yet.
They're a band that we've not covered in the show before, but I got quite into, courtesy of American Men and Robbie in particular, who we mentioned on the first episode tonight that you will only hear if you subscribe. Yeah, when I first read reviews of it, they were like, oh, it's Tortoise being Tortoise. And so I was like, well, to be honest, I wasn't really feeling that so much, because I've got great Tortoise albums. I've got TNT, and my personal favourite of theirs, and if we ever do an episode, it'll probably be Millions Now Living Will Never Die. Yeah. Right. But I got to this eventually. I got round to it eventually. And I was really struck by actually how un-Tortoise it sounded at points. Mm-hmm. For people that don't know them, they're largely instrumental. I think almost all instrumental. Kind of from this weird place in the American scene in the late 90s that was sort of like quasi jazz rock, bits of like very light noise rock, little bits of sort of that tangential to like Shipping News and June of 44 and that kind of almost post-hardcore scene. They live in a very odd place, and it's a really interesting place. It even kind of overlaps with the likes of Trans Am and stuff like that at times, right? And the new album's got some really interesting points. I mean, the first track in it, Vexations, I had to check that I'd put the right thing on, because it's kind of like crunchy, it's very direct, it's quite krauty, there's a bit of kind of electronic vibe to it, and it's not at all the familiar sound that I was expecting from Tortoise. the album does get back onto more familiar terrain later on. There's tracks called Working Days, I think it's got, and a track called A Title Comes. They sound like people who know Tortoise will be like, it feels familiar again, but there's a nice variation on it. I will say, if you're not used to them, it probably won't appeal to a lot of people. It takes a while to get into them. I mean, they bounced off me for a couple of years, Robbie, who played them a lot, and it was always a little bit background for me until I did kind of start to get it eventually. And bearing in mind, probably my favourite band, Jesus Lizard, I was the same with them, bounced off me for a couple of years until I finally clicked with them. But I think Touch is a great entry in their catalogue. It's something that feels like it's up there with...
I'm just going to say that actually.
Yeah, some of their earlier work, and that's really nice. I mean, given the style of the music, it is a music that lends itself to a band getting older. You know, it's not one of these genres where you're like, oh, that's a bunch of old guys trying to act young. It's like, it still feels very natural, and yeah, it seems like they've got quite a bit more gas in the tank. So yeah, I would recommend that.
What's your other one?
Pile. So Dave...
Oh, man, I almost bought you that record.
Well, here's the thing, right? So David actually put these guys on earlier this year. I met you at the show. Sunshine and Balance Beams, is that the name of the album? It's a good record, right? Now, that seems odd, 'cause I want to like Pile more than I like Pile, and the thing is, live, they're very decent. It's the second time I've seen them. They're a really decent band. I think... I'm not sure that Pile are as exciting as people want them to be. I think they're very competent. I think the thing is, to me, Pile are like a second or maybe even a third generation noise rock band. It started as a solo project for one of the guys in the band, and then it's sort of through iterations became like a fuller project. And they're very, very good group of musicians. They've got real chemistry and stuff like that. And I think they've hung around long enough now, which is like 15, 16 years, to give the impression of being sort of progenitors, but they're not. They're not innovators. They're a band doing a sound really, really well that already exists. For example, they sound a lot like Unwound. Who are like OG when it comes to this kind of sound, who, by the way, were meant to tour this year and I didn't get to see them because the tour fell through, probably partly because the band members are much older. So yeah, Pile are really good, but they work to a template. They do that template very well. This is a really capable album. If you're into this kind of stuff, it's a really good listen. If you want to go and see a band live do this really well, go and see Pile. They're very good at it. They aren't, for me, like up there like genius level, because what they're doing already existed and because they are very much aping it respectfully. But yeah, really, really good record. Enjoyed the band. Was surprised actually how much I enjoyed the record, because I thought I would be kind of indifferent to it. But yeah, sorry, that's kind of like, I'm maybe damning them with faint praise here, but I do think it's a really...
So your second favourite album of the year was an album that you thought was quite good?
Aye. We'll expand on that.
Well done, music.
Alright, Dave. Here's your 20 good albums that you found.
Yeah, okay, well, a couple of really good electronic records came out this year. Barker with a record called Stochastic Drift. Very minimalist. Beautifully
I must
produced.
have heard that, because I remember really liking that name.
Really good. One O Tricks Point Never, new record, best album that he's done in
Is
a
it
few
good?
years. Yeah, it's really nice. There's like stuff that maybe passes you by a little bit, but much like any of his records, there are just like moments that you're like, oh fuck, I want to go back and listen to the whole track just so it builds up to that little bit again. Like he just makes sounds that you're like, fuck, I love that sound. Blawan. Amazing record.
Yes, I do know. Yeah.
So that's Sick Elixir, and yeah, Blawan's been a producer that's been around for ages, and yeah, got a lot of props. Does like really dark, heavy, weird shit. This record's got like quite a lot of groove to it. There's some like really interesting rhythmical stuff.
I listened to this because I went through the Quietest one and took out their top 5, and Blawan was number 5 in the Quietest is top 5. It's a really interesting record for the sounds, the production. It's a very, very well produced and sort of like texturally pleasing album. Like I saw some of the commentary under it was like, man, this guy like revitalized these entire sounds. These sounds haven't appeared in techno and electro for a long time. I think it's an album for people with short attention spans. Like, because it's
very immediate, and then it just keeps changing
moving.
as well.
That's the thing. It's like, so it doesn't allow you to really get into a groove. And at times that's a bit frustrating. It's a bit like listening to like Phantomas or something like that, where you're like, there's loads of ideas in here, but actually that great idea could be not just stuck in that for 30 seconds more, you know, because that's really, really cool. I can't really knock it, but I do think it's a bit, I mean, they placed it in number 5 of the whole year. That feels like a wee bit of a stretch to me. But then again, I am not a connoisseur, and I would certainly say that the albums that they placed 3rd and 4th, which I'll give a mention shortly, I would 100 times prefer listening to Blawan than the albums they placed 3rd and 4th, which are inexplicable to me. But it's a really interesting one. And yeah, for people that are into production and stuff, I mean, actually it's got quite a lot in common with some of the techniques that Blank Mass uses, who I'm a big fan of. That record's got some really, like, if you've got a good set of speakers, I think it's probably spectacular.
Yeah, definitely. I've been listening to it in the car, which is always good because the car speakers are great. And then a new Voices from the Lake album came out last week. Voices from the Lake are a duo. I can't remember the name of the other guy. I should have checked. But like, yeah, they're both like good producers in their own right. And they did this album 15 years ago, which is really well respected, quite ambient, but like just real beautiful sort of soft electro. And yeah, it popped up that their new one came out last week.
So they're basically they do things very rarely, like.
It's like a total side project, and like their only album was fairly legendary in sort of like electronic music.
Interesting.
And then the new one has come out, and I was listening to it the last couple of days, and it's very, very nice. So it's Voices from the Lake, and it's just called Number 2. So yeah, good electronic stuff. Then in terms of metal,
here we go.
2 very good American post-black metal records.
Post-black metal?
Well, you know, black metal, but not pure black metal. So the new Death Heaven record is very good.
That's on my list.
It's probably
what do we call
my
that?
second favourite.
I think they have been called black gaze, but I don't think
black gaze. That's what it was.
I don't think they really fall into whatever that was.
I think they're just
like
a metal, extreme alternative band.
I think that's
they, like a lot of these bands use black metal bits. They have blast beats and stuff.
Yeah,
but they're not a black metal band because they incorporate so much other stuff.
I mean, I think that's accurate. To be honest, and that's one of my records. So I'll talk a little bit more.
Yeah,
about
I'll let you talk about that. It's fucking great.
Never.
And then Agriculture, the spiritual sound. I've been talking about Agriculture
good record
for a long time.
Sits in my honourable mentions.
Great.
Yeah, so they got to number 7 in the Quietest list.
Yeah. because I got sent like a pre-release copy, and I was up in the Highlands, and I just put on the first track, and it made me laugh out loud because it's like they're taking a piss out of like tough guy hardcore and stuff like that, and they just have this big massive chuggy song that you're not expecting because they are like, you know, quite esoteric, but then then it just goes absolutely everywhere. I would say like it's a slightly messy record, but it's really well produced, and I just fucking love that band.
I have
They're
to say,
very,
like,
very good.
Obviously we do this every year, and Agriculture first cropped up in your selections years ago, so you've genuinely been pulling for them for a long time before.
I love what they do.
Yeah.
A couple of really good death metal records. Dormant Ordeal. With Tooth and Nail, which is like just good old school like technical death metal, and then Sanguisuga Gobog.
Oh yeah,
Sanguisuga Gobog.
Yeah,
They are super hip, aren't they?
Yeah,
Hideous
super hip.
Aftermath.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to it and you're just like, this is what horrible death metal should be. It's just like, you know, Cannibal Corpse, but 30 years down.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really well done.
So
it's so good.
They've been, I mean, I guess it's partly to do with their name and their logo and all that fucking aesthetic stuff around them as well. I don't think they're entirely succeeding purely on the merits of the music.
No. But like, there's a lot of bands that are around like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many slam death metal bands and like very proficient death metal bands. And like, I could list 10 really good slam death metal records that came out this year. But that one, like, they are bigger because they are just slightly better.
Right, okay. I mean,
I think some of that stuff is like a bit tongue in cheek as well. Like, I think about
totally.
Big Ass Truck.
Yeah.
you know, they're like super slammy, but like also very, very, very tongue in cheek with it. Do you know what I mean?
I do think though it is a matter of, like you kind of said it there, it's a matter of fine margins with those genres, right? Because there is often so little between these bands which are following by and large a very well established template that it's like the finessing, the thing that edges you ahead of the rest of the pack, with exceptions. So Blood Incantation, for example, is a different thing because they went and added something completely different to the mix. But with a lot of these bands, like, there's such a narrow thing that pushes them ahead. And I do think that band, for the fact I can't say their name, their marketing, there's something about them that has made them more appealing to journalists and hip bloggers and things like that. You know, and when I listen to it, pound for pound, Pepsi Challenge, would I say it's much better than most of the other stuff in its category? Probably not, if I'm being honest. But I do acknowledge that they have found favour that I can't necessarily understand at this point. But hey, fuck it. You know, people want to rally about. They need a hero. You know, it's like we talked about fascism in the last episode.
Yeah,
you need somebody to take charge, don't you?
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to announce that the new Deftones record is very good.
That's that's on this list as well. I am a little bit confused as to why it's been so warmly received.
I think it's excellent.
Right.
It's because it's really good. It's got like some
it's
great
kind of like
melodies on it.
It's kind of like, it's not on my list. It's in honorable mentions, but they've just got it figured out. They've just got their sound down to like a fine art at this point. You know, I mean, it feels like the most.
I think it's their best record since self-titled. So that's 20 years. And like Koino Yokan and what the other one?
Gore.
I mean, Gore wasn't that great.
The one with Owls on.
We have a massive episode in Deftones, by the way, folks. If you want to go back, it was the first of the year.
There's now 3 records that are not on that episode.
Yeah, but it was the first of the year in what, it was about 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, a lot of it's, but we'll actually touch on this because we have a question coming up about
in the next episode.
This. Yeah, in the next episode about the TikTok phenomenon and how Deftones have profited from that, and you know they've found favour with a new generation. They've re-attained this kind of level of like relevancy that.
But also,
but hang on, just let me finish that thought off. Just listening to the record, it's good. I don't know that it's much better than most of what we're talking about. There's a couple of good standout tracks in it. but there's a lot of stuff in it that is just very mediocre Deftones, and I just think for whatever reason the stars have aligned and this is their time. Again, I think it's something a bit like that Singwin is a bog band. It's something that's not entirely based in a kind of purely objective appraisal of how good this record actually is. I think it's just like, oh, this is their moment. This is about right for them. New metal's kind of back in, but they're kind of the new metal band that weren't too dumb and we quite like them. And as I say, I think stars have just aligned. I don't think the record's actually as good as folk are making it out to be. I do think it has a couple of highlights, but I know how good Deftones can be. I know how good. I mean, White Pony is a fucking peerless album.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think it encapsulates the best of Deftones over the last 20 years. But that doesn't reach anything near their peerless best from the previous 5.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about this on the next episode, but I think that they're a band that were already huge. You know what I mean? Like there was never any danger that they were ever going to do anything other than sell out like a 12,000.
No. But
venue, you know what I mean?
I saw them in 2008 in the Academy.
Yeah.
Last time they played the Hydro.
Then I saw them in the Barrowlands in 2014.
They dipped.
So like they were like selling 2,000 and it sold out. But they were supported by Touche Amore, I think it was, or one of them.
Yeah.
So in 2014, only 11 years ago, they were selling 2,000.
They've just announced 1,700. Academy.
No, Academy's 23, so Academy's bigger.
Okay, sorry.
But they've just announced an outdoor show at the Highland Showground, which is 40,000 or 50,000. So like,
but it's also to do with who they're touring with.
Yeah, but you know, that's people are going to see Deftones, and that's what's that fucking 8,000% increase on the.
I'm not saying that they haven't benefited, but I'm just saying they weren't exactly like in the doldrums before. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they were on the new metal slides. Right, when the new metal thing faded and it was all seen as being a bit passé and almost a bit cringe, they were suffering from that. And that period was like, that was their kind of nadir in terms of from when they crested, that was it. But they are definitely back in a big way. What amazes me is just that they've never been a particularly good live band. And how Deftones managed to be so successful whilst consistently being so disappointing.
It's interesting that you say that because so Craig, big friend of the pod, he was obviously, Craig was on Tenerife, he plays drums and Go Down Fighting. He was telling me about a subreddit thread about some of the bands you should never see live. Mastodon, one of them, just really boring.
Okay, Mastodon.
Loads of songs that you probably just want to write
I saw Mastodon in
ABC.
Like I saw them in the garage in like 2005.
Now
it was amazing.
Yeah, but now
I probably wouldn't go see Mastodon.
Yeah, it's like they are great. Obviously, very, very technically brilliant, but they play just a lot of songs you just probably don't.
Interestingly, two of those bands are touring together because Deftones are touring with Interpol down in the Southern Hemisphere, and that is two bands that are extremely patchy live at best.
Deftones is the other one. It's like, well, you just never really know what Chino Marino voice you're going to get. You just don't know. It could be awesome, could be awful, and like it's just taking a gamble. Like it's actually quite kind of miraculous. Like, did you see the Coachella thing?
No.
So there's a whole set of Coachella. I think it was earlier on this year. You can watch it on YouTube. His voice is cracking. They're amazing. They're really very good. But that's, any other day, it could have been totally pish.
Yeah.
Well,
I have to say, post-mixed as well.
I saw Glassjaw.
It was live stream.
Outbreak this year.
How is his voice? Because I've seen Glassjaw twice, and the first time his voice was incredible.
Yeah, I saw Glassjaw in G2, and it was they were amazing. They were supposed to be playing, no, not G2, ABC.
Yeah, that's what.
they
were so
and they were supposed to be playing ABC One, and then it got downgraded, but they were fucking brilliant,
amazing, man. Yeah,
they did the first two albums. They did first album full on the Saturday and second album full on the Sunday, and it's like there were bits of joy that entered me when I was like, oh, I recognize that bit, but I know those albums really well, and it was just like, this is mostly just noise, and I was just really. There was a lot of love in the room for them, but it was also just like, well, that doesn't sound like the record at all.
Extremely impressionable, and that is why a lot of these bands like absolutely thrive on that. That is the thing. I think for a while, Deftones had to impress the audience, and they didn't really have what it took to do that. And now the audience is there already willing to be impressed. It's all to do with like, is the audience already on side, or is the audience kind of standoffish? Like, I'll go and see what they're like. And I think some of these bands are great when the audience doesn't really care how it sounds and just is willing to project onto it.
Yeah, well, most folk don't care how bands actually sound in the room, right? It's like we're in the minority, right? So
I don't know if that's true, man. I think it's sort of to do with the psychology of the band. If the band's on the up, people will accept all kinds of bullshit if the band...
Well, no, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, people don't care because of that. Like, if they see a band they like, they'll enjoy it regardless of the sound in the room, you know?
Also, like, when it comes to, like, mainstream music, so much mainstream music uses such a vast amount of backing track and processing
that's
and everything.
About the Deftones live stream.
It's pretty impossible to have a bad show.
Yeah, exactly, man. I don't think, like, I mean, in terms of, like, real-time processing, and I think it's very hard to have a bad show with some of these bigger bands at that level. At the scale of a 40k venue, a lot of that shit is going to be extremely like preordained, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying about your point about, like, sorry, we're drifting a wee bit here, but what I'm saying just very quickly is that if a band is on the up and a band is super hip, you will go and see them, and if it sounds like shit, you will probably still be so swept up in that kind of crowd mentality, the hysteria of it, that you will let it go, right? And you'll be like, right, fine. If you really love a band and you're going to see them and the venue fucks up your favourite song, you will be extra raging. And I've been on both sides of that, because I've gone to see, for example, when I was a big Tool fan, which is a while ago now, I remember going to see them at the Barras, where they were absolutely astonishing, and I remember going to see them at the Academy, where it was a fucking joke. And it is that thing of, like, once they're not on the up, once they don't have that momentum of, like, supply demand, like, you need to be there, you're so grateful to be there that you just make it good in your own head. Once they're there to impress you, some of these bands can't impress, and sometimes the venues let them down. Deftones are very guilty of that. Interpol, as I mentioned, are also very fucking guilty of that. Albeit, the last time I saw them, they were spectacular. That was a shock to me, because I've seen them before and they were clatty.
So my hot take on Deftones generally is, like, they're a band that I don't ever really want to see live, because I just think his voice is so brittle, even on record sounding.
I have to agree.
It would just be so much of a gamble for me that it would, like, it could actually ruin my listening experience of the band. Plus, after that.
There's a lot of processing on the vocals in the records, especially like White Pony, which is kind of my era, which I just don't think would be done properly live. There's a lot of doubling and things like that, so it runs the risk of just being really underwhelming.
I'm not going to go see them at the Showground, because a big massive outdoor show could be already. But I am going to go see them at the Hydro on a Friday night on Valentine's Day.
That's good
in Glasgow, because even if they are shit, it'll just be full of horny goths. And it'll be hilarious.
Hey, Drug Church and Denzel Curry are playing
totally.
as well. So I mean, it'll be a good gig.
And I'll just, like, everybody will be there, and it'll be a great catch up, and it'll be a lovely evening. So even if the Deftones are shit, it'll be great.
I had a ticket for it. I no longer have a ticket for it.
Right, I'll quickly go through my final five of various artists. Prostitute, Attempted Martyr, very good.
Attempted Martyr.
They are American with Middle Eastern heritage, noise rock. Basically sound like a cross between Daughters and Gila Band.
Okay.
With
better vocals.
Vocals are great, and with some Middle Eastern influences as well.
Cool.
Really good.
Really interesting.
Chat Pile did a collaborative album with Hayden Pedigo. Really fucking cool. It's great. It's
Almost bought you that.
Yeah, it's really beautiful and heartbreaking, to be honest. And it's
you don't get kudos for almost buying.
Yeah, how many albums did you nearly buy?
I actually had so much shit. Like, I was like, I saw that I just was like, man, like,
some boy. So. It's really, really good. There's just like, it's just fragile and lovely.
By the way, I just need to say, we did a Christmas presents for each other in the last episode. I just feel like it's a total non sequitur there.
We give each other stuff.
Eric DeCassier, Lifetime. I think I've talked about her before. She's just a really fucking beautiful sort of neo soul R&B artist. Very sexy.
have to put that on my list because I love Neo Soul. So.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Jeez,
Billy Woods,
we
the
talked
new
about this,
Gollywog record is fucking. I've hardly listened to any hip hop lately, and that's pretty much the only hip
he
hop
not
record.
run into some bother, or was it just about the name of the album?
I don't know. Haven't heard.
Anyway, carry on.
And then final record of the year for me is Alabaster de Plume with A Blade, because a blade is whole.
To you who turn to me with time and through such life stay true and
He is a very eccentric jazz poet, and he's amazing.
Okay.
I first came across him on the Isle of Egg. Johnny Lynch from Pictish Trail runs this mad festival on Egg.
Yeah.
And
Egg's a Scottish island, folks.
the population of Egg goes from 96 to 450, and it's just full of all the weirdos. And
I've seen the photos of that. It looks like a really nice festival.
It's brilliant. Like, it's so well curated. And Alabaster de Plume, first time I came across him, he's just this big, tall man with a big floating sort of long coat. And he's the sort of guy that if he had an eagle behind him, you would just not, you'd be like, oh yeah, he has a pet eagle or something like that. And he's like so obtuse, but he's fucking brilliant. And as just a jazz record, it's really good, but then his poetry is really, quite profound. Nice. Fucking brilliant.
Mark, before you do your list, I've got two things here. I've got the quietest list, the top 5. We've already mentioned part of it anyway. And I've got a bunch of recommendations that came from Grant Donaldson, sometime contributor, friend of the pod, who is a man who listens, a bit like yourself, who listens to a lot of new stuff and is a reliable source. I'll do the quietest ones, if you don't mind, because I think it's interesting to see like the top 5 in such a big publication.
Yep.
And I mentioned earlier on that I didn't, obviously number 5 was the Blawan one that you talked about, Slick Elixir, but the third and fourth one, Richard Dawson, End of the Middle.
So much worse than I would ever have thought it could. Blanked by my best mates, taxed at the school gates, punched in the face on the
Have you heard this?
I know everybody, I've got so many pals of mine love Richard Dawson, and I've never got into it.
Honestly, why the fuck does anyone enjoy this shit? Have you heard this?
No idea who that is.
It's like unbelievably tepid, sort of troubadour type music, cruises along on these beardy fucking hipster credentials that drive me up the wall. It's like a bit of Bell and Sebastian, a bit of Aidan Moffat, a whole other load of like tuneless bumbling pish that people just fucking love. I cannot get it. I mean, as much as I like the store, I am absolutely sure that Monorail, which is a very hip record store in Glasgow, could not keep this record on the shelves because people were so fucking hot for it.
Pierce is on Lorraine, shooting pains down my left leg. Holly and Phil can pay your energy bills. Dead wasp on the windowsill. The last drops of Blossom Hill.
It is painfully dull, cliched, very known, and just dross, and it can absolutely fuck off. When I saw this, I just could not reconcile reality. This is like so high up in people's ratings. And maybe on a sort of similar theme, the fourth one in their list, these New Puritans.
Cross the field, cross the snow, let the horses all in a row, them into.
Oh yeah, I quite liked a couple of their songs from 15 years ago, but I haven't listened to them.
They brought out a record called Crooked Wing. It's basically a duo from down south, although I think the live thing is maybe slightly larger than that. But I've spent limited time in it, right? But it's another massive shrug of a record for me. Again, tepid, alternative electropop this time, drab as fuck. I think it's their 5th album. Is it Manchester maybe that they're from originally? It's been heralded as a best by many. It wants to be ethereal. It wants to be quite cerebral, but unless I'm missing something, I think it's just really profoundly unremarkable, forgettable, actually, maybe more than anything. It's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of that kind of era of Depeche Mode when they were really vital, dragged into the present, minus all of the originality. And yes, it's got some kind of modern production, so it sounds quite hi-fi, but really it doesn't have any of that soul or that spirit of adventure or innovation or anything. It's just, again, I cannot understand how a record like this manages to claw its way so high up a list like that. I think this is a record that will be very quickly forgotten, put it that way. It's in this list, but if anybody is still fucking talking about this record in 1 year, I will eat this microphone. The second one though, Earthball. Have you heard these guys? Outside Over There?
No.
You should absolutely listen to this, right? So it's a Stuart Lee endorsed record. Stuart Lee, the kind of political comedian, yeah. He's got a sample on it. It was produced by people behind Deerhoof and Wolf Eyes, so it's got some really hip credentials, but it's this really interesting, improvised, psychedelic, really bombastic, stonery noise rock. It's not reinventing the wheel. There is a bunch of stuff out there that, I think, even bands like Cosmic Dead and things like that sound a bit like it, but this is a sound and a heft to it that I think really elevates it. Because a lot of that stuff sounds it just kind of drifts in this kind of miasma of like psychedelia, whereas this has real crunch to it. Musically, yeah, they could be running out of road in terms of what they can do with this format. I think they make really good use of saxophone in it, by the way. But yeah, it's a really satisfying listen because of the impact of it. So massively worth your time. I'd never heard of them until I saw this list, and so it was nice, given how bad the last two were, to be so impressed with this. And then their top one was one called Hexed by Aya.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, it's really
interesting,
unusual
dark.
Mix of liked her stuff
before.
cyber stuff, punk stuff, grime, a bit of like this kind of modern sort of like, the way that kids listen to music now, which is playlists of completely disjointed stuff. It sounds like somebody who's listened to like a load of really eclectic music. It actually reminded me a lot of Atari Teenage Riot, but like a bit toned down. And it made me really curious, like, if this is what's really clicking, I wonder how Atari Teenage Riot would go down now, especially, partly because of the political content of it, but this seems to have really landed. The thing that fucks me off a bit is the overbearing London accent, but actually musically, it's a really interesting thing. If you like Atari Teenage Riot, you might actually really quite like Hexed by Aya.
The new Lambrini Girls records, the thing that put me off that was the accents. Otherwise, I thought it was like feral and just like a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally.
And also really aggressive and confrontational.
Yeah, they're great live.
I can imagine, yeah. But like the accent was like, nah. That's on us, man. That's just on us, man. Like that's the Scottish thing. Like, unfortunately, But hey, it is what it is, I guess.
So, Mark, what are your others?
Okay, so my best 5 albums of the year. Number 1, fucking with a bullet. Arm's Length. There's a whole world out there. This band kind of pick up where the Hotelier left off.
Okay.
Hotelier are their album, particularly Home As Where. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
I think I'm need to Google that. Sorry.
No, you don't.
The beer's getting to me. But yeah, that's they kind of pick up where they left off from there. But I think this is even more tuneful than that. The record's kind of about the singer's mental health issues. But the thing that really makes it really impressive for me is like they overcome the second album slump really well.
So the second album,
it's a second record, yeah.
No, this is a second.
It's a second record, yeah. So first record that he said they'd taken like 3 years to write that and record that, and this one was done like the space of 6 months, and it's like significant. It's like a leap ahead. It's so good.
Historically, I've repeated at the worst of times. I'll do the same this time next year. I didn't think
Maybe a song or two too long, but I think, you know, Fatal Flaw, The Way You Ominously End are three of the best.
Is it a solo project?
No, it's a 6-piece band.
Okay.
It's 3 guitar players, bass player and drummer, 5-piece band, sorry. Aye. And the singer sometimes plays like banjo, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like some of those 3 songs are the best emo songs I've heard this year. And honestly, like I've listened to it at least twice a week since it came out. I've just one of the records I've just kept coming back to. Some of the records I'm going to mention, I've kind of burned myself out on them, but this one just kept popping up. Loved it so much. The next one is Lonely People with Power by Deaf Evan, as David kind of mentioned. So the last record was Infinite Granite, and it kind of went much, much deeper into shoegaze territory. Wasn't really for me. But in this record, they've kind of taken the tunefulness and brightness of that record and combined it with New Bermuda, which is like their pure metal record, and created something which I think is, honestly, I think in time might actually be better for me than Sunbather is, because it just feels like it feels like the proper encapsulation of what their sound can be. You know, and there's a whole bunch of songs in it which are less than 6 minutes, which for them is brief. And the record is still over an hour long, but it never really feels like that for me, you know. And they played most of it live earlier on this year, when they played in Slay, and this will come up earlier on, and they were fucking tremendous, man. I knew a few folk who didn't go because they saw the set list and were like, there's not a lot of Sunbather songs on. You fucking missed yourself, by the way, because they were absolutely tremendous. Third record was At Peace by Propaganda. So
Propaganda.
Wow. Yeah, man. So
a lot to go on about, you know, politically though.
Yeah, like big surprise for me, right? So I've tried over the years many times to get into Propaganda, right? And I've never been able to do it because they have everything that I should enjoy, right? They're punky, they're technical. They've obviously got like great playing chops.
Remember that track, Fuck the Border, was a total fucking ripper.
But I could just never connect to it. And I almost never really connected to this record either, but it just songs kept coming up in my Spotify, like radio and mixes. Every so often a song would pop up, I'm like, oh, that's actually it's Propaganda, cool. And then it would just keep going and going, and then I went back to the record in full, and I was like, actually, to be fair, this is actually fucking brilliant.
I can't seem to shake the belief that there's a liminal state between death and rebirth in which you and me.
Another band I did not get at all before this year, and I just really, really enjoyed this record.
Okay.
Which is a surprise to me more than anything else. Another record that I really enjoyed was Scowl and We Are All Angels. Do you know this band, Dave?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. There's a couple of hardcore records that I kind of had to try and choose between. The other one was End It's debut album, which is fucking amazing. They're so good. But this one kind of got me because it is very tuneful. So Scowl are like female fronted hardcore band. Their first record was really like proper, like kind of beat down your hardcore almost. This one's got a lot more kind of grungy melody to it, and they really thrive as a result of that.
You beg, you stole, you run away.
It's just really fucking catchy, man, but also really like vulnerable and heavy and uncompromising. It feels like it was a gamble for them, and it really pays off, I think. And finally, a band that I actually wish I'd seen earlier on this year but didn't, because I think I had fucking something else going on, was Slow Crush and the album Thirst. So Slow Crush are like a kind of shoegazy metally band. They've got a hint of the Deftones about them for sure, man. Belgian, this is our third record, and for me, the other two records are a bit of a shrug, but I really fucking love this record. It's heavier, it's much more melodic, but also way more vulnerable and uncompromising as well. It's just a really beautiful thing, and I loved it. So those were like my 5 favourite records of this year.
As I mentioned, Grant Donaldson, very, very quick name check of some stuff that he picked out. He said agriculture. He mentioned a band called Water From Your Eyes. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, very good.
Geese. Getting killed.
No,
So,
fucking pish.
A lot of folk, that's a record I need to check out because it's been on a lot of end of year
It
lists,
just sounds
man.
like
And
they are fucking psyoped or something.
aye, that's what Jason said to me as well. He was like, by the way, this band, what the fuck?
The solo singer did like a solo thing at fucking Carnegie Hall, and Wes Anderson was filming it and shit. And it was like in
hate
the
it so
New York
much.
Times, like how this guy Cameron Winters like changed music. And then like this is like their 4th record. I listened to it and I was like, oh, it
Oh,
sounds.
was that the Paul Thomas Anderson thing? Was what?
He was there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe Wes, like they were all there. Everybody,
He was like behind the piano filming it.
Aye. And fucking, I listened to it and I was like, oh, it sounds like Tom York warbling over the Rolling Stones. It's shite.
Ugh.
I don't get it at all.
Okay, Negative Blast, Destroy Myself for Fun.
They're very fun.
Def Club, We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness.
Oh, I've not listened to that.
No,
but
I've not
yeah,
listened to
they're
that either. MS Paint, No Separation.
I don't like that band,
I think it sounds
man.
like Linkin Park.
There's no escape from death, never be replaced. I wish I could.
I don't like so
I never got it. I never
The
got
first
it.
record is that like a kind of beat, almost kind of beat down to hardcore, but it's got some keyboards and stuff in it, and I thought it was really fucking dog dull, man.
It sounds kind of new metal-y. Believe in Nothing, the album Rot, which I thought was really pretty good. And Dave, I think you would actually really like that. With Death Heaven, he picked that out. Cloakroom, Last Leg of the Human Table. Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Series.
Couldn't get into that, man.
I didn't really
Couldn't
buy
get
that
into
one.
it, man.
Perfume Genius.
Oh, I've not listened to that, but I do like Perfume Genius.
Murder Capital. Butch Bastard. The Valley. It's it. The X have got a new album out. If your mirror breaks, which I'm told is really pretty good.
Interesting.
It's been about a long time now, as has Alan Sparhawk, who brought an album out with Trampled Turtles. I am a massive fan of Low. I'm not a massive fan of this album.
Even then you gotta refrain from using your own opinion.
It's very country-ish, Americana, and it doesn't really push my buttons, but I have seen them doing some of the songs live, and they actually are really good live. I just don't like the record very much. Now, Grant mentioned a band called Vulture Feather. Have you heard these guys?
No.
So I'd never heard them, and this is a really good recommendation as a result. It Will Be Like Now. It's a really decent album.
And a song called separate the body from the mind.
Really, really decent album, but it is driving me wild. So listeners, I'm asking you, who the fuck do these vocals sound like? I kept thinking Guided by Voices. It's not Guided by Voices, but it's someone else. The vocal production on this record sounds exactly like somebody, and I cannot put my finger on it, and it's driving me nuts.
From the depth of a dark sea, that grey paranoia sees the streets lead. All that
But it's actually a really well written, really melodic kind of alternative US college indie underground type record. Really good. By contrast, Model Actrice, the album Pirouette.
That look, match that speed, take that room, and all the lights, it's you, and all the lights, it's you.
It might be the worst thing that Grant has ever recommended to me.
So many people are into Model Actress and are like, oh, I fucking saw them at art school, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I thought they were somebody else. And then I listened to it and I was like, it's really bad.
It's absolutely...
I do not get it.
It's
like
fucking dreadful.
honking industrial nonsense.
He told me I'm the only person he knows that doesn't like it.
No,
I'm like,
well,
dude,
sign me up to their pish list.
because the Emperor has no fucking clothes, man. That is honestly one of the worst things I've heard in a long time.
I'm embarrassed to be clever when you're honest. You make me want to be ready. I feel different now than I did before. I can see how my power only was.
Close second was probably Snapped Ankles, which is the album Hard Times Furious Dancing was pretty big on lists. It's fucking stinking. But yeah, that's more or less it. The only other one that he mentioned, which I think really deserves a shout, is Smoke.
Oh, Smoke was good. Actually.
Songs from the Freehouse. I mean, I'm getting quite into this project very gradually. They've got a number of releases, none of which have blown me away, but now they've built up this sort of canon of stuff that's quietly impressive. It's a bit krauty, a bit post-rocky, but then a lot of like dark folk. So the guys from Lancome are big advocates of it. I actually really like it. I missed the live show. I would have loved to have seen that because apparently it's also very, very good live. It lacks a wee bit of variation or finesse. It still feels like it's done in a bit of a shoestring budget, but it's really, really quite good. And I get the feeling he's getting progressively better each time, and it feels like it's going somewhere really good. So Smoke, rated that. Model Actrice, Grant, if you're listening, what the absolute fuck is wrong with you? Absolutely.
No, but he's not alone. Like,
no, he's not.
Everybody
alone.
seems to like them,
But
and they get a lot of props.
It reminds me that
they're legit.
you know,
and I was like, what?
We've all seen the film They Live.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got the glasses.
Yeah. I just didn't understand it. I thought it was fucking honking.
Can I do some honourable mentions whilst we're here? Ben Quad's Wisher, great Midwest emo meets Screamo record, really stepped up there. Pool Girls, band that I've been trying to get into for a while, like mathy, Midwestern emo. She's got an amazing voice. Their album Easier Said Than Done came out in April. It was in August on Epitaph. Fucking great record. Moving Mountains' new record is also awesome. Pruning of the Lower Limbs, again Midwestern emo. And yeah, how do I pronounce this? Nouveau Lascura.
Novella Lascura. Yeah.
Like Power Violence from LA.
Yeah.
Honestly, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And I also know one of my records of next year is going to be, because I've heard it already, the Proto Men will be releasing their new album on January 6th, 2026.
It sounds like a bang.
But they've already released all of it as pre-release on Bandcamp. They've been releasing like a song every week for the last like 2 months, and then they finished it in the final Bandcamp Friday of the year.
We've got an episode about these guys.
We do. So This is the 16 years since our last record, which was Act 2, The Father of Death. This is Act 3, The City Made Us. It's the conclusion of the Mega Man inspired story.
Yes, you heard that right. Mega Man, the video game.
Yeah. Don't really give too much a fuck about the story, to be honest.
That's the best bit.
But a lot of the fans...
Imagine Bruce Springsteen playing the Mega Man theme tune.
Yeah, so the good thing about this record, right, this new record is like... so Act 2, for me, the best part about it, as you spoke about, is the last half of the record is brilliant, right? The first half, it's weirdly sequenced and doesn't really work. This one is sequenced brilliantly. So really well done. It's got hints of Springsteen, Jim Steinman, like early like 70s style, like rockin' Queen, 80s proper like histrionic, like power pop, power rock sort of stuff.
Yeah, a good bit of Johnny.
It really fucking works, man. But a lot of the fans think there's another record going to come out on the release day because it ends so abruptly. Narratively, it ends abruptly. Musically, it ends actually really quite well. I mean, the last song is an instrumental song where the main character gets hung, and the record literally ends with the sound of him swinging from a noose. Right?
I don't remember that for Mega Man.
Yeah, so like it's a fork of the story, right? It's about Mega Man's dad, basically.
It's
like
fan fiction.
Yeah, it's about Mega Man. It's fan fiction about Mega Man's dad who created them, right? And there was one song which is not on the record, which they said was going to be in the record that released in 2022 called The Fight, which is a really great closer to the record, which is not actually on it. But I have listened to it so fucking much, man. Like, I listened to it in bits when it was coming out, and I was like, I'm not really sure if I'm feeling this, but see, when taken together, man, it works so fucking. They've thought about it, they've done it. It's honestly awesome. It's going to be in my list next year, I think, for sure.
So can I preempt the next part of this episode? Because actually some of the records that I didn't mention were of Scottish origin. So I think we should talk about Scottish acts and albums.
Go for it.
I actually don't have a lot on this, right? Because I just want to kind of give more of a kind of overview as I see it. And David, being a promoter here, will probably have more to add to this. But there's lots of like very promising new melodic, I would say US college rock type stuff coming out just now. I've sent some stuff to you, Mark, bands like Promises, Mystery Gift's another one. They're pretty raw as bands, but what they're doing is just trying to write these really strong songs, like verse, chorus, middle, eight, chorus, finish, in the style of that kind of like, let's say pre-Nirvana, but like very late 80s, very early 90s US college rock when the radio was really thriving. And you'd like Lemonheads and R.E.M. and all these kind of different bands kicking about. There's a lot of that going about. And as a result, a lot of them are producing maybe one or two really strong singles. So there's a very good sort of like singles collection or like compilation waiting to be put together of these bands doing this. I'm also seeing a lot of like hip hop as well as like hip hop jazz crossover, because the jazz scene in Scotland is, if you're in the UK, sort of like second to maybe London at the moment. And it's quite progressive, it's quite adventurous, and there's a lot of hip hop acts are sort of collaborating. We'll probably talk about one of them very shortly. There's some really good new punk stuff coming out, some really like very competent like bands that have sort of been breaking up and bands forming out their remnants. So like, for example, the band Chainblade have just come together, and that's a band made up of really dedicated, experienced people from other bands. And so you get that kind of progressive, iterative quality that comes from people who've been touring and gigging with different people, and the quality just sort of builds and assembles as they optimize, you know. And there's also just, even though it's not really my bag, there's a lot of really decent, gobby, mouthy, maybe quite snotty sort of indie punk in the kind of vein of like Fontaine's DC kind of Idols. A lot of that coming through in Scotland. Clearly that's a big market. But even though I want to be a wee bit of a prick about it, a wee bit of a curmudgeon about it, I have to say that if my choice was between people ripping off Oasis or, you know, ripping off Take Your Pick, fucking Stone Roses, or ripping off whatever, versus ripping off stuff that actually has a lot of its roots in like noise rock and much more interest in the songwriting, I'm fine with that. I don't listen to it a lot, but it's far more interesting to hear somebody sound a wee bit like The Fall than it is to hear somebody sound a wee bit like Savage Garden. do you know what I mean?
Whoa, now fucking Savage Garden.
Oh, no.
Don't be slagging Savage Garden though.
Grant will not be happy with that either. The biggest positive for me though as a whole is that there's an entire new movement after that whole weirdness of COVID, when you had 3 to 4 years worth of musicians that were really affected by the breakdown of the live circuit, and people releasing nothing but fucking experimental electronica they recorded at home and acoustic records that they rewrote and recorded in their bedroom that are totally solipsistic. You've got a new breed of like much younger folk who are forming these bands that are really indebted to like the late 70s original punk. And it's really interesting to see that. You know, I mean, this must be effectively their grannies and granddads' music in some cases, because these are kids that are like too young to be playing in bars. You know, we're booking gigs as matinees so we can put them on because they're still underage for drinking and stuff like that. So it's really interesting that sound has taken so much with this young generation of musicians in Scotland. So that's a really big thing. And I get the feeling that even if those particular bands don't amount to much, a bit like I was saying about the iterative thing about the emo and punk stuff, in about 5 years you'll have some really good bands coming together of people that started early, got through that awkward period of being a young musician where you make loads of mistakes, and by the time they get to their second or third project, they're really fucking good. And so I think that could make for some very interesting music in, you know, the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Everything that's old is new again, man.
Yeah, but it's like, it seems quite sincere. It doesn't seem contrived. I mean, the punk thing is driven by seeing it. They're doing gigs in like youth centres and they're doing gigs in like public spaces. They're not.
Well, once again, I think that comes from like what community radio comes from. It's like just people listening to the mainstream and hearing this committed algorithmic shit.
Exactly. I also think
like, oh, I just want something authentic and raw.
Just you please, sorry, you take over, but I just want to conclude that thought by saying I have seen movements come and go. It's like 16 years I've been booking just this one place, right? And you see movements that are really quite cynical and have been driven, and you know, this doesn't feel like that. This feels like a very organic process that's come off the back of the trauma of COVID and how that disrupted the system. And it seems to have sprung up it's bootstrapped, you know what I mean? And that is actually really quite heartwarming. There doesn't seem like much of an oversight on it. And I'm sure the industry will be scrabbling to catch up and it'll be, oh, there's money there, we need to somehow co-opt this. And they will, because that's what fucking happens. That's what Nirvana's story was. That's what the Sex Pistols were, right? But for the time being, it's still quite pure. It's still very sincere. And it's just nice to see something that is born of love and enthusiasm. You know?
I was going to say, I think Generation X and our generation, like millennials, are like the only, or will be the millennials will be the final generation where everything is like couched in like irony and cynicism. You know, you certainly don't get that from a lot of Gen Z. You know, and I think that earnestness is kind of exactly what you're talking about. You know, it hits the nail on the head.
I mean, on the flip of that, I will say the generation above them absolutely love their fucking neo soul and their fucking soft jazz, and there's a lot of irony. There's a lot of people who are far too young who want to be much older because for some fucking reason they associate it with sophistication, and there's a lot of really fucking
maybe they just heard Jamiroquai on a compilation.
No, but I mean, honestly, Simply Red would be massive with these fucking kids, and I do not fucking get it. Like, it's a weird aspirational grasp for like being taken seriously as adults, and what they're effectively playing is the dreary shit that in the late 90s and early 2000s we were laughing at, and they're now like playing this wine bar music and sort of like applauding each other and be like, oh, you're so fucking yes, and it's mental. Well, so this punk movement is a tonic for that which has preceded it. Thank fuck. I just want to pick a handful of records. Endless Swarm. The album, The Body Hammer, Power Violence.
Always amazing.
So good.
Great band.
So
Extreme
and they fucking did their album release live on a boat in the Forth.
I showed you the video.
So jealous.
I wish it is absolutely
I've always
crazy.
been trying to put a gig on a boat all my life, so I'm so jealous.
25-minute record. If you like Power Violence, grindcore, extreme hardcore, check out Endless Swarm, The Body Hammer. Bleed From Within, need a fucking shout out, right?
Yeah, you have. We got to fucking shout those guys out, by the way.
Shout this band out, right?
No
okay,
way.
Because
Like,
they released an album called Zenith. If you like your metalcore with bagpipes, this is your fucking album, right? Massively patronised by the press here, massively overlooked, right? Bleed From Within are a band who have been digging away, working away to make it in kind of an unfashionable sound. They've just sold out 2 nights at the Barras.
2 nights in the Barras. That's
4,000 people.
Insane.
For this, again, quite bootstrap project. Yes, they're
Support
now
Slipknot at the Hydro.
Supported Slipknot. They're now getting proper label interest and, you know, booking and stuff like that. And whether or not you like their music, they're the fucking real deal. They've worked really hard. And it drives me up the fucking wall when I see like national awards and newspapers and magazines that spaff on about the best things of the year, and they completely omit bands like this from their lists because somehow it's not serious music, or it's not sophisticated, or it's not trumpeting some particular fashionable political agenda. They are just a good, hard-working, very dedicated band that deserves some fucking respect, whether you like the music or not. And I just want to shout them out because I've got a lot of respect for that band. I've got a lot of respect for the metal scene, which is constantly fucking sneered at by the press in Scotland. It gets fucking next to no coverage in some of the mainstream kind of art papers and stuff like that. It's a fucking insult, frankly. So Bleed From Within, Zenith. If you like metalcore, go and check it out. It's very, very good.
Can I just say, weird thing. So they're on the same floor as us in the practice studios in Kilmarnock, and like, no joke, man.
Not loud.
Not loud, but just like unbelievable. You could not fathom how tight they are. Like, it's just it's insane.
Working and working and working.
Yeah,
you see the live shows.
So impressive, man.
Superb.
So impressive. Like, and you can massage things live, as we've spoken about, but like, no, like, see, you're standing in the hallway and you can hear it. You're like, man, you can't fuck with that.
It's absolutely not my style of music, but that does not mean I cannot be like somewhat awed by how much I respect what they've achieved on, very modest amounts of help. Kairisu, the album Compromat, Mark, I've got a feeling you like this.
So good, man. I really loved it.
They, by contrast, won the Scottish Album of the Year, the SAY Award, which I have a lot of criticisms of, but they picked this album as their Album of the Year, and I think it's very close to being right.
That budget, it ain't what it appears. Niggas claiming independent, cause this shit getting trendy. I be really in the trenches, major deals they offend me. Recouping off all of my work and efforts doesn't seem right. The sacrifices and the losses that I took for this life. You know the motto that I'm screaming, I'm screaming, I bite. Bitch, I'm trying to eat, I need a whole lot of...
It's one of those albums of like very adventurous jazz, staffed by a bunch of people from the jazz scene who've come out of the conservatoire, but it's folded in all this really strong hip-hop sensibility and production, and they've created something that's really, really fucking strong. Like,
the vocalist is legitimately from LA, do you know what I mean? So it's an actual proper like American hip-hop.
It's got an international footprint.
It's
right up there. All of the members have other projects, so they're all very, very hard working on the scene in different facets, and it's just a really great collaborative effort. So Kairisu, KAIREESU, and the album's called Compromat with a K.
Yeah, Volume 1, because it's a mixtape.
A bit like a ex-military.
I honestly, like, I listened to it the other day. I couldn't actually believe how much I enjoyed it, because it's got that feel of like A Tribe Called Quest, like that early 90s like jazz influenced hip hop, and I was like, my fuck, what is going on here? It's insane.
Grassroots scene.
Like, it's so good.
I mentioned Cloth, the album Pink Silence, because Cloth get a lot of attention in the press, and the thing is, I do think the album has some good moments. I think the second track in it is particularly strong. I just find them a bit of a dreary band, but they are a band that if you like sort of like your softer indie, you may really like it. Okay, if you're not from Scotland and you've not heard of them, check them out. Corto Alto brought out an album, another of these kind of progressive jazz bands, an album called 30/108. The band is totally flying in jazz circles. I think they're currently touring Australia. It's supremely skillful musicians that are involved with it. The main guy, Liam Shortall, has put this album together himself during the touring cycle for his first album. So I think he wrote 108 songs and he's picked 30 of them, hence the name. Lots of electronics, bits of trip hop, lots of jazz ingredients. If that's your bag, check out Corto Alto. Coven, CWFEN. We were talking about like like, what was it you called it, Black Gaze and things like that. So
one of Melthammer's albums of the year.
Yeah, the album's called Sorrows. They're from Glasgow, comprised of the bassist from Lapsus Linguae, for example, the guitarist and the drummer from Titus Gain. Very, very strong presence on vocals as well. Gothic alt metal, I suppose. Again, if that's your bag, check it out. May not be for everybody. Has like a very melodic kind of like 80s Cure thing to it, but much, much heavier. So you might be into it. And the last one I would mention is Hens Benz. Totally different end of the spectrum. Sort of like Devo meets the Wannadies meets like the Locust or something like that. Like really fucking wacky, a bit comical, but really, really well done. Kind of gonzo rock, but their album's called World's Strongest Band. The best Scottish release of the year for me, Heir of the Cursed, and the album Heir of the Cursed. Posthumous collection, released 4 years after the passing of Bildina Odenyo. Just an amazing collection of songs, very personal to a lot of people. I was at the launch gig, which was spectacular in August. Beautiful record. So Heir of the Cursed, self-titled Heir of the Cursed, I think it's the best Scottish release of the year. It's probably my favourite record of the year, if I'm being honest, more so than the Tortoise one, but I thought I would mention it in the Scottish context.
Dave.
Breach of Hambul released a record.
Oh yeah,
Sunwise, and it's fucking brilliant. We love Breach. Yeah, and that's fucking brilliant. All Men Unto Me. Don't know if you've heard that.
No.
It's the vocalist from Ashenspire.
All Men.
All Men Unto Me. Called Requiem, and it's the vocalist from Ashenspire, the amazing black metal band from Scotland.
You picked 2 years ago, I think is your
Yeah. And Ryan Gleave, vocalist, they've done like this solo record using some of the musicians from Ashenspire, and it's this
They've
sort
got
of
another side project that's really good as well. It starts with an F. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, and it's really good, worth checking out. It's like this, quite expansive, orchestral in some points, post-metal, post-rock sort of stuff. Yeah, really, really good. They're like probably my two favourite Scottish albums of the year. And then stuff that I would just check out. I think Mrs. Frighthouse are really worth checking out.
Yeah. Really
wife and wife duo, quite harrowing,
like very oppressive in a deliberate way, and also just props to them because they are some of the most supportive figures on the Scottish scene. Like, you go to gigs of all kinds and they're there watching, cheering, buying t-shirts, like absolute massive respect. It's a bit like Capil, Capil Sishasai, like people that are at those gigs supporting their local scene, like lots of respect for that.
Rinse, which is the project
Joseph
of
Quimby.
Joe Quimby, formerly of Take a Worm for a Walk Week.
Yeah,
he's put together this solo ambient noise project, and I've seen him live twice now, and it's really fucking incredible live.
He
It's
is
so
an
good.
exceptionally talented guy.
Yeah.
He is his own worst enemy in a lot of ways, but wow, what a musician.
Yeah. And making new EPs very fun, old school death thrash.
Yeah.
From a group of fun Glasgow musicians who've all done lots of different things themselves. And then I'll talk about L on my favourite gigs of the year, but L are probably my favourite Scottish act of the year.
Cool. I'm going to talk about a couple of acts that are actually in our record club, which is our Patreon record club, which you can learn more about at patreon.com/unsungpod. So, Wrong Life released a new record this year. Fraser is a bit of a punk scene legend.
Wrong Life is him, but there's a band as well.
Yeah, Wrong Life and the Murder Burgers were also him, to be fair. So the Murder Burgers are the band that he's known for. They actually reformed recently and they are still excellent live. New record, I Can't Remember Where I Live, just came out. Really, really very good stuff. To be honest, as I'm getting older, like the Murder Burgers are great, fast 3-chord punk, but Wrong Life is a lot more deliberate.
Yeah, considered,
you know, and I much prefer that.
Yeah.
Also some really class guitars on it as well. And Finch, Missy Olympian, the first full band Flinch record. Beth is a really...
Sorry, I thought you said Finch.
Flinch, sorry. Flinch. The beers are getting to me, boys.
Flinch.
Yeah, Beth's
with a full stop after
with a full stop. Yeah, Beth's a great musician. The first record, Enough's Enough, is in our record club, and this record, full band, it's got a lovely, warm, lo-fi vibe. But back half that record is sensational. And it ends with a Christmas song, which is pretty class.
Okay.
EPs that I've really enjoyed this year from some friends. Crocodile Tears, Even If You're Happy. It's your first EP.
Yeah.
Really
good band. Yeah.
Grungy, you know, kind of you were talking about earlier on, that kind of grunge influence coming back in, a bit alt-rocky, a bit shoegazy, really cool.
Part of that movement of like great female-led, non-male-led bands that have just 7 or 8 years of like Scotland really investing in that pool of talent has produced like a whole host of these young bands coming through, and it's excellent.
And I'm really excited to see where they go, because I think the ceiling's really high for that band. Very, very high. The Rarely Social, it can all change in an instant. So Elliot,
I just want to articulate that for people. The Rarely Social. Elliot actually mixed that Crocodile Tears EP I just mentioned there. Yeah.
The Rarely Social's first EP, It Can All Change in an Instant, is like Midwestern emo meets things like The Wonder Years and all that. Lovely boys, great band, like so good live as well. It's actually quite scary.
Yeah, they're a band, but that's because they appear in loads and loads of gigs. You know, you see them supporting lots and lots of stuff. They're very involved live, and they're earning their stripes by just working really hard and getting better and better. Yeah,
got a lot of time for them. Reeking Joy released a 3-track EP called Dance Music, which is
Reeking with a W, so it's WREAKING, Reeking Joy.
It's less than 4 minutes long.
They're fucking mental.
But they're on a break from gigs at the moment, but I mean, I hope they're writing an album or something, because I really want to.
Fun,
they're very, very
very
good.
ratty, very good, extreme, but also good natured.
Hardcore, yeah.
Get It Together got their first release in
ages.
It's in 2019. It's called Phantasm. It's a mixture of like quite emotional melodic hardcore and really aggressive. They've got a song called Crippling Fascism, which is about fucking being a fascist. Great, man, just really good stuff, like really cathartic, huge sounding, really good. And finally, I just want to shout Go Down Fighting. Go down fighting. Like Craig, I know you're listening. I know you're going to be having a pure beamer right now, but the EP is called Anytime Now, and like it's 4 singles that they released over the last few years.
It was a big year for them. They were on a lot of really, the Agnostic Front and all that kind of like stuff.
Yeah, and I've heard some of the new stuff and it sounds fucking class, man. So get this band on your radar now and get in the ground floor because they are very, very good, and the new stuff is excellent. Yeah,
cool. I need a piece, so let's get into best gigs.
Yes, I've got 2. Dave's responsible for Cave-In. Corefest.
By the way, it's also in mine.
Unbelievably
great.
One of the most professional bands I've ever seen live, and just sounded so unbelievably tight.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was by like when this question is asked, as it always is, there was the first thing that popped into my head that was just unbelievably
So
good.
Heads up folks that didn't hear the first episode because you're not a subscriber, Mark gave me the special new edition of Jupiter by Cave-In, which they were touring,
and they played it live at that
played
gig,
it live. I will say though, perhaps even better than Cave-In was Joe Quayle just prior to
Joe
Cave-In,
Quayle was very, very, very good.
Yeah,
Joe Quayle blew my fucking mind. And I am a huge Cave-In fan, and Joe Quayle is maybe even better than them that day.
And the other gig for me was Death Heaven, actually, because they played most of the new record, and that's kind of what I was there to see, and it was just...
I saw them at Outbreak, and it was fucking brilliant.
Magnolia, the song on that record, The Lonely People with Power, is like one of their best, probably their best song, actually.
Yeah.
That whole gig was phenomenal, man. Like, I've seen them a couple of times, and I've never been super, like, engaged by them, but this time round, they've really got it right, man. They've really got it right. So that's my kind of 2. I haven't been a lot this year because of various personal circumstances, but those were the 2 that really stuck out to me. So
I mentioned the Air of the Cursed album being my best Scottish release, and the launch show in August was just such an overwhelmingly powerful experience because of Bildina's passing. Her sister compared it. Her sister is an absolute legend. Like it was astonishing the way that woman presented that show, hosted that show, kept it so upbeat, kept the tone of the humour like so true, quite dark, quite gallowsy humour at times, yet the whole thing was really, there was such a beautiful community spirit at it. The gig was just tremendous. It was people covering tracks from the album. I think Rick Redbeard's track was probably my highlight. I thought there was a lot of good stuff, but Rick's was just incredibly moving. It was a fantastic show, really fantastic show. Refused and Quicksand was actually quite disappointing. Quicksand were great. They kept it simple. Even the fucking lights were simple. It was just tune, tune, tune. Great band. Refused were the opposite. It was pretentious. It was really a bit flat. The only good thing is that Refused played most of their best tunes in the first bit of the set, and I was like, I've heard everything I want to hear. See you later, I'm going to the pub.
So
go.
I was just going to say, so there was the most fucking Mark coded gig in the world that happened this year in SWG3. It was Hot Water Music, it was Dave Hawes, it was Modern Life is War. It was in the upstairs room in SWG3, I think is that the warehouse?
That's the warehouse, yeah.
And it sounded like a bag of fucking, it sounded like it was in a tin can, it was horrible.
That's a bad room for
that whole
bad.
Fucking venue is very hot and cold.
And Modern Life is War were fucking brilliant. The crowd couldn't give a fuck, to be honest. Hot Water Music were amazing as well. Dave Hawes is one of the best frontmen.
This is disproving your point earlier on where you said if the
sound doesn't affect you
if you fucking like.
No, but he said for most people.
For most people,
we're in the minority.
Yeah, we know because I spoke
fucking red pilled here.
I spoke to folk there who were like, "Oh, it was really great," and I was like, "It sounded like," I was standing next to my pal Jason, and we were like, "This sounds like shit, doesn't it?" And he's like, "Yeah,
it would probably.
It was.
Like shit.
It was pretty bad."
Yeah.
Dave Hawes is one of the best, I guess, front people I've ever seen. He's like so warm and kind and so into it. And he was trying his hardest, man, but because he was acoustic as well, and it sounded still shit. And I was like, kind of fucked here a wee bit.
I bet he punches Doug's in his spare time.
Maybe he does.
It's nice on stage, and then goes about slapping terriers.
But honestly, like that should have been amazing because Hot Water Music are always amazing live, but it just sounded like shit, and I was like so
very marked show.
The thing we Refused was I thought it sounded good. I just thought
fine,
the guitarist, who's their new guitarist, who wasn't on any of the records, just doesn't have the feel. He like plays it too tight and like exactly on the note, and it
interesting.
Just for me, that's took the whole thing off. Like there was a bit in what's the do is that Refused or Fucking Dead? Anyway, and like it just
Refused Party.
It had no swing in it, and I was like, oh, that's one of my favourite songs ever. And I was fucking buzzing to hear that riff, and you've played it like too perfectly, and it just didn't sound right at all.
I actually thought the fact that they suddenly became really reliant on the production and the lights and stuff when Quicksand had been so stripped back, it was like quite stark. It was like, this is a band that doesn't need to overwhelm you. When then Refused came on, who you're thinking, right, they'll just be pure.
I think that's the guitarist's fault. I'm blaming him entirely.
Probably
for
was
that
him.
shit.
It's all him. He slaps dogs as well. So
You think they maybe playing a click?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it just didn't have vibe.
Yeah. Completely opposite end of things, I went to see the Talon Chamber Orchestra perform the music of Arvo Part, and it was fucking fantastic. It was at what we call the Old Fruit Market or the City Halls. It was superb. Went by myself, had a lovely time, except I had to fucking absolutely sprint there because they were like, oh yeah, we're closing the doors, you don't get in after it starts. And stupidly, I had gone to the Royal Concert Hall first and sat there thinking, where is everybody? I was absolutely stinking and sweating through a classical music show, and that was quite a redneck.
Just to be clear, Talon, not Talon. Like Talon as in the city in Estonia, not Talon as in and Talon for a, because that's what I thought immediately, like Talon for a.
He's literally saying Talon and Talon.
Do you
mean Talon?
Talon in Estonia, and Talon as in,
an eagle has a talon.
As in like Talon, the city, not as in Talon, like thanks for doing that for me, Lynn. Right, okay, so Blood Incantation at the Garage, I mentioned, they were really good, although it was horribly busy, like uncomfortably fucking busy concert. I mean, sold out, but like
oversold, yeah,
it oversold to fuck, and like a horrible experience in that sense. It ruined it for me a wee bit, despite how good they were. But it has been a year for people overselling concerts. That's a measure of how bad the economic situation is for bars and venues and stuff. But it does ruin the gigs a bit. However, Aranci Pazuzu, who were the real reason I was there, were absolutely fucking spectacular, like astonishing, like really, really, really fucking good. And oh my god, I just wish they'd do a headlining fucking tour sometime soon. Unwound, I mentioned they cancelled. That would probably been on this list, but I didn't get to put it on this list. But just a few days after Unwound would have played, I managed to see Les Savy Fav at Drygate, courtesy of David. Thank you very much for that. They were fucking brilliant, and I've seen them before, but they were excellent. However, I did spend about 10 to 15 minutes blinded by wine that was spat in my face by the singer, and I deserved it because I'd taken a photo or something like that, and I was looking at my phone while they were playing, and he was out doing crowd work, and he probably thought, look at that cunt in his phone, and fucking spat the wine in my eyes, and it went right in my open eyes, and I was stinging, but I couldn't even complain. I was like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been.
It's my fault.
And the last three, Big Brave, I've seen them before, really like Big Brave. I found the show quite disappointing. Wasn't nearly as good as the last time I saw them, or when I saw them in
This is best gigs of the year, mate. Like,
stop telling us disappointing gigs.
But they're a great band. But
got 1,000 gigs I was disappointed by this year.
Two really good gigs to finish. Ramlied, which is a Rammstein tribute band that I saw in Audio in Glasgow, which is definitely not my favourite venue. It takes some fucking guts to whip out stadium level pyrotechnics in a concrete bunker.
No way.
Fiery, like spark spouting dicks, and people like chopping people's arms off, and like they whipped out a rubber dinghy and went like surfing across the crowd.
I love it, man.
The gig was beset with technical issues, which is a real shame, and they've said they're going to come back as an apology for the problems that they had. But honestly, despite about 30 minutes of disruption in the middle, it was fucking brilliant, and the pyro was ridiculous. They can't possibly have got security clearance for it. We probably should have died. It probably should have been like a Great White scenario, but
maybe did die.
And the last one was, it started December, we interviewed them, Sanam, absolutely fucking brilliant, at the Flying Duck. Not quite as musically brilliant as the last time I saw them by a small margin, but the fact that the gig was so well attended this time was super encouraging, because I'm like, this band deserved a much bigger crowd. The first time I saw them, they finally got it. I think it was just a bit hot, to be honest with you. It was a bit fucking stuffy and close, and it was busy, but they were tremendous. And again, if you haven't listened to our interview with Sanam, please go and listen to it. We spoke to Anthony, and the band are just superb. You talked about a band earlier on bringing in Middle Eastern influences in a very modern context. I've not heard it done better than this band.
All right, my best gigs of the year. I'll be quick. Witch Club Satan at Supersonic. I had no idea who they were. I was completely surprised and bowled over by them. Supersonic, amazing festival down in Birmingham. Such like really well created and like embedded in its community. And Witch Club Satan came on, and they are 3, I think, Norwegian Scandinavian women. They were all naked apart from big long massive hair wigs, and they played proper old school like Dark Throne type black metal.
Wow.
Wow. And then, so many questions.
And then there was a point where my wife was like, "Oh, how's the festival?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm just watching a band, and the naked pregnant bassist has just started playing her bass with a sword." And now she's shouting death to Netanyahu. And I was like, but they were fucking good. Like, they were really good. And like they did bits where it was like proper like Gregorian chanting and all that. And fucking brilliant. Like,
wow.
I'll probably see them again and they'll be shit. But like, they just totally surprised me and I fucking loved it.
Goodness me.
Wow.
Agriculture
at
Core were probably my favourite band at Core.
Really?
Yeah, I fucking loved them. They were so good. Obviously, Arancian Blood Incantation.
Oh, wow.
What a lineup, what a show. I was over at Other Voices, this little an amazing Irish festival on the west coast of Ireland last month. And I saw this guy who I've been kind of following for a bit called Lula Hush. And he's based in Dublin and he takes like old folk music and like puts it through a sampler and adds like loads of stuff. And like old trad folk musicians have been getting annoyed with him because he's like going against tradition,
right? Yeah,
and make it. But he did this full band thing in an aquarium with 360 visuals, and the visuals were fucking unbelievable. It was like the story of modern Ireland and historical Ireland going through in these 360 visuals and like live. They were amazing. So this guy Lula Hush, and it's all like sort of tape cassette sampled and everything. Brilliant.
That sounds really interesting.
That does sound really good.
And then finally, band I've seen twice this year in very different settings, L, that we've talked about.
This is a band that kind of came from Golden Teacher. It's similar people, yeah.
And so it's just the letter L with a full stop maybe.
Really hard to look up.
Yeah, impossible. And they've got a record that came out last year. It's fucking weird. They are
Do you know the name of it? That would make it easier to look up.
Something to do with Marilyn Monroe. Just search for Marilyn Monroe is All of Us. I think that's the record.
Okay.
And it's on Bandcamp. It's not anywhere else. And they're like a cross between black metal meets Captain Beefheart meets who's the fucking old Scottish poet that does weird music?
You're really not wrong, by the way, about how hard it is to look this band up.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe is All of Us, I'm pretty sure.
Scottish poet is this?
The guy that sings about donuts. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're fucking brilliant. And like, they are fucking weird. And they're like jazzy death poetry.
Who's there? Somebody, who's there? Hello?
So they played at my festival in Stirling and like with a full PA on a like lovely stage with high production, and they were brilliant, and like people were like, what the fuck is that? And then they did an EP release a couple of months later. So the EP release was was under the motorway in Glasgow. You just had to turn up. They gave you like 3 words, and you had to like climb behind a gate, go down this construction yard, and then it was like under the motorway overpass. And so they had somebody DJing some mad rave shit first, and they just like totally set up DIY with a generator and everything. And the EP that they were releasing, they were playing it, and it was the first time that anybody had heard it, including themselves, because they had all separately taken like some very vague hints or like starting points for songs, and said, right, this one will be 3 minutes long, and they'd all separately recorded their parts for 4 songs, and then all separately sent those parts to a engineer who then mixed it and mastered it and assembled it without listening to it. And then he mastered and mixed and added like sounds in and everything. And then he sent that to the record label, who then put it onto cassette and printed it on like 500 cassettes without listening to it. And then on this EP launch night, they then went through it track by track, listened to a track, And that was the first time anybody was hearing it, including everybody at the gig. And there was like 300 people there. And then they'd listen to that song and then they tried to recreate it live immediately.
So, Marilyn Monroe, All of Us.
Yeah.
Record. Their Bandcamp description is L are a dissociated non-music trio based around the writings of card magician Jack Payton,
who's mental, and I love
Jack is joined by Laurie Pitt and Jack Mellon, and the record is 12 tracks. And that's cool.
Yeah. So that record,
cool,
that record is, they've heard that.
That's conventional.
That's conventional. Yeah. My Sister's Baby is the one that they hadn't heard, and it's really good.
Yes.
Well, no, it's
not on the Bandcamp. It's not on their Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So.
You can only get it on that. It's like, I don't know if it's good, but it was memorable.
By the way, that is a properly good note to finish this part.
It really is. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of level of artistry that we could all aspire to and never meet.
We should be weirder.
They've won something there.
Yeah. Shit.
Right, let's fuck off. We've got part 3, and then
we have part 3 if you subscribe. Otherwise, if you don't, then we hope you've enjoyed this really drunken ramble.
This has been fairly structured. I mean,
it's going to get a large glass of wine to get through the next episode.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty smashed, so apologies, folks.
Luckily, it's the right time for it.
Aye, so after an hour and a half, cool. Great edit for both of us, Chris. But if you've enjoyed this, subscribe for other episodes. Patreon.com/unsung pod. Patreon. Latreon.
You've appropriated an L from a word that should have had it earlier on.
I have, haven't I? Yeah. Patreon.com/unsung pod. Please keep the beer away from me. And yes, we'll see you in the new year.
Good night and God bless.
Soon.
League One Volleyball is coming to Minnesota in 2027. The world's best players together on American soil. This is volleyball like you've never seen before. Huge swings, massive blocks, jaw-dropping digs. A sport where every play is a highlight. To learn more and get first access, visit lovbminnesota.com/iHeart.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.